Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, hey everybody, I'm back out here at Giga-Texas, and there's a lot going on this Friday that I want to talk about before we get into the drone flight. First off, just a reminder, even though this is Friday, it's the last day of production, so they have brought in the staff today. They are doing a production of Model Ys. I noticed that there was a lot of Model Y performances that were being built today and then exiting the factory, heading over to the outbound lot and getting ready for shipping off-site. And as I mentioned, today is the 19th. It is the last day of production, and they have decided to do that here just to finish up the year. After this, the next time they'll have production beginning will be the 5th of January. Now, I did notice something interesting about the production today, specifically over where the vehicles were exiting the factory, and that is that the vehicles were being driven out on the ramp and then onto the ground with employees. Then they would get out of the vehicle and then it would proceed autonomously all the way over to the end of line. And I'm not really sure why, but it is possible with the ending of production and going into this couple of week period that they are doing some internal modifications in the exit point area of the factory, along with many other areas, and this is what is causing that change. But nonetheless, looks like it was a pretty busy day, at least so far while I was here flying, and again, production on a Friday, which is unusual. Now, another thing that has to do kind of with production, also with Cybercab, that is exciting, is that just yesterday, a Cybercab was spotted out in Austin on the city streets doing testing. Now, this appears to be the same Cybercab that I've seen driving around here on Giga-Texas, and oftentimes they'll drive it over to the end of line, put it into a truck, and then drive it off-site. That may be the way that they are moving the Cybercabs around Austin and then having them on the streets doing that testing. Now, in addition to that, here at Austin, there was another video clip that was made out in California near the Apple headquarters, and this one showed a different Cybercab driving on city streets. It looked like there was 2 employees inside, and what everybody's really looking at is the fact that it appears it has a steering wheel and the rear view mirrors. Now, I think that this is all just for testing. This is not the final configuration. They're just doing the equipment that's necessary to test it on city streets. But nonetheless, this is sparking another one of those conversations that I know everybody is having out on social media. But that's about it for the intro today. There is a lot to see and a lot to talk about on the site today, this last day of production for 2025. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Let's go flying.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, it's the last production day here at Giga-Texas for 2025. It's also just a couple of days away from the shortest day of the year, with the winter solstice coming up quickly. We're going to start off here today on the southeast side over where River Road Extension is continuing to see some construction. The intersection with Robotic Avenue, you can see some of the earthworking equipment kind of parked in that intersection location, and the underground stormwater pipe that's being buried. They've got the gravel on it to prevent float, and now they're adding the dirt back in to cover this over. And you can see some other pipe segments have been stationed here on the graded area. Speaking of which, looks like more work being done here to grade out this location. You can see two kind of linear piles being made by the bulldozers and some additional vehicles coming in to pick up this dirt. It's part of the effort to complete the graded location, or the area here for this location that will have some construction later on into 2026 as we get into the new year. You also see some of the workshops where they're fabricating more of those pipe segments. These are all headed over to Cortex 2, and we're going to see more of those arriving a little later in the video. I'll zoom in so you can get a sense of some of this work. There's also some clearing of the materials and some of the steel away from that section that's being graded. Here's a great view of some of those pipe segments on the ground and on the trailers. And as I mentioned, you will see those a little later in the video. So we look at the recycling yard. This is the activity that is going on here today. I noticed that some of the castings that had been moved over here last week have now been placed by the melt center and are getting melted down. So I'm not sure why they moved it around like they did. Here's a great view again of that clearing location back to River Road, the main factory, and this west side of the recycling location, which is also looks like they're using it for some materials. Speaking of which, directly ahead is this large triangular material staging yard, and I will zoom in and show you some of the details here, more of the pipes, some of the fabricated pipes, also some steel items, some red painted items as well, and some of those containers that have equipment in them. So looks like they're continuing to use this site pretty aggressively with a lot of that material. As you pass over the old testing and calibration lot, I'll keep the zoom in. We'll go over the superchargers and look at that secondary entrance with that construction entrance nearby. You can tell that there is a lot of equipment that is being brought in here today. Some of it's being unloaded off of these trailers being pulled by yard trucks. This is what it appears like. A lot of this material is coming from that southwest side material staging yard that used to have that large tent-like structure, and we will see that a little later. Also, if you look through the windows with this lighting, you can see some of the areas that have the Cybercab production line in this general area of the factory, plus some more materials that are staged next to the windows. Speaking of materials, as we continue to fly to the south past this temporary platform with that trash chute, we see more items being delivered here. A lot of these are those crated items. Some of them are the silver wrapped items that also have come from that far southwest staging yard that we mentioned previously. And with all of this showing up and the fact that this is the last day of production and there'll be no production for the next couple of weeks, in addition to this equipment that's being brought in too, this kind of indicates that there's going to be a lot of work being done inside the factory, as I suspected, doing not only some of the maintenance and upgrades of the existing lines, but continuing to build out and prepare the Cybercab lines now that we are closing into the next year. And with the proposed start of production in April, we're just now about 4 months away. So they really have a lot of work left to do, and they'll be spending the rest of this year and early next year getting all that set up. Great look at the staging yard here next to the parking garage, and a lower altitude view over River Road and the berm work. Also, you can clearly see where the wide road is going to extend and connect into this intersection. There are some more trench boxes and an excavator, I believe, next to these kind of orange fence line, and this is all in preparation to eventually extend River Road to the east. A lot of steam or vapors or
Not really smoke, whatever people like to hear, but it's coming up out of the cooling tower on the right-hand side of the screen, and a good view here with the lighting inside the south end of the building. The reason why I hesitate on those vapors coming up out of the cooling plant is that many viewers have their own desired word for that, and no matter what I use, I seem to get the wrong one. So I'll let you decide what is coming up out of the cooling tower. Off to the left on the south side of River Road, you can see the filled-in trench work all extending towards this caisson, which is now completed. And I'll kind of maneuver around the fork in the road at the bottom of the screen. You can see that conduit and that red concrete put onto the conduits. As we cross back over River Road, I'll show you down into the caisson, and you can tell from this view that it is in fact completed. The bottom has got that concrete, and all of the items necessary to install the concrete tunnel segments through the tunneled bore have all been removed. And much of that equipment is staged here next to the crane along the ground and over to where the equipment is stationed on the left. As I turn back towards the north, we'll cross over the road, take a look at this construction site next to the caisson. There's a worker next to the caisson itself, and as I zoom in, we can see the tall concrete vault, also some steel pipes sticking up vertically at the base of the trench, and the spreader bars and the sheet piles holding up the walls to prevent it from collapsing in. And here's a nice view, again, showing that caisson on the bottom, how this is all starting to take shape, and the work continues in that excavation. Nice look back at the main factory, and I'm going to kind of maneuver around. We'll get ready to go over the highway and resume on the west side. Work continues around the area where the caisson has been installed here on this side. You see some more equipment at the bottom of the screen next to the south bridge. A lot of the cleared section here up to where the trailers used to be, which have been all removed, and there's just a few containers and some other equipment remaining. As we fly lower back to the south towards the caisson itself, pretty much all that's visible on the ground now is that manhole cover. So this is soon to be all completed. As we fly back over the water detention pond to the southwest, wanted to show what's going on with this large staging yard. Now, I mentioned all of that equipment that was being delivered on the east side into the factory. All of it's coming from this particular yard. As I get lower, we can get a very close-in view of the equipment, some of the pipes at the bottom, some more racking systems as well. More deliveries have been made here in the blue and the white packaging. A lot of these crates, many of which we saw on the east side of the factory being moved in, and where the tent used to be, now they're starting to use that graded section as a place for more materials, as you can tell at the bottom of the screen. Here's all of those racking systems for the casting stored on this side. Looks like there's another delivery as well. And at the top of the screen on the right, you can tell that clearing section. It doesn't have very much work going on right now. And of course, this smaller yard with all of the steel stored here, waiting for the opportunity to be installed in the factory. Flying over the power lines, coming over to this part of the staging yard. Bring the drone down, you can see what's marshaled at the bottom of the screen next to the black fence. Some more of the equipment for the 4680s. It looks like there's some additional new deliveries as well. And as we get close to this workshop and zoom in, you can get a good sense of the progress that they're making with these V4 charging posts and the cabinets. And in the upper right of the screen, and those black items that you can see, those are for more of these V4 superchargers, and a lot more of the parts and equipment are waiting for them to be installed as well. So I'm not sure where that's going to be used on the site yet, but I'll continue to monitor that as time goes on. Also, just in the top center of the screen are those transformers that have been accumulating over the last few months. We saw a few more being delivered about a week ago, and this is a pretty good view of this activity, along with more equipment just to the north here on the staging yard.
So now I'm going to take the opportunity to kind of pan back and show you just how full the outbound lot is. Both the west and the east sides are pretty much full. The lanes for the trucks are clear for the trucks to arrive to pick up the vehicles. I saw a almost continuous stream of loaded up trucks leaving the site while I was flying. As I come down a little bit lower here to the east side, get a good sense of the vehicle mix. A few Cybertrucks, a lot of Model Y performances. We also see some premiums and standard Model Ys in and amongst this area, but it extends all the way to the north of the outbound lot on both the east and the west sides. This lot here is filling up rapidly. I think that this is what we're going to see most of the vehicles built today arriving to. And you can see some employees are preparing some of these vehicles for their movement over for the truck pickup. Thought I would follow along this really beautiful red Model Y. And with the lighting, it just really kind of shines quite vividly here. And it's on its way along these 4 lanes up to where this grouping is. And of course, this is where the autonomous drive ends for right now. And then the vehicles are moved into the end-of-line facility for final processing. And more of them are lined up next to the delivery center. And it also looks like there's a couple of vehicles being prepared or at least positioned for delivery on the right-hand side of the screen. See the vaults and some of the gravel mix that has been added here, the trapezoidal section as well. And some people have asked, is that maybe related to the construction that might be done in this large field? I don't really know, but I'll continue to monitor and we'll find out for sure. As we continue to fly even further to the north is a great view of this material staging yard with those 2 tents, and a good view across to the west to the housing community next to Giga-Texas. Bringing the drone back down, looking across this field, which is part of Giga-Texas. Maybe eventually we'll see expansion work. Tell we have the welding shop here at the bottom left, more of the equipment and the fan units being stored here along with steel. The kind of mobile chiller units on those trailers still haven't moved in a while, so continue to watch that. And of course, this is where more of these smaller transport vehicles are stored and staged through the week. A nice view also of downtown Austin lit up with the morning sun, and as I turn around, a great view of the entire West Support facility from the north all the way to the south. So let's get ready to cross over the highway and we'll resume on the other side again. Dropping in here just to the south of Tesla Road, the work continues with the trenching and the purple pipe installation. Kind of extends from here all along the entire side of the factory here, the north side on this parking lot, next to all of the racks with the castings in them. Another Cyber truck arriving to pick up more castings to then transport them for production. You can tell that the work is continuing here, being filled in on top of where the trench work has been done, and of course next to the berm and the new perimeter fence. While we're here, I thought I would bring the drone up, fly over the north part of the 4680 with all of the cooling enclosures and vents, show you that the next level of solar panel installation appears to be complete now. That's this line that kind of underlines the letters TESLA. And it extends from that north point all the way to the south. Now there is still a lot more roof available for the solar panels, and at some point I would expect to see that happen, but we'll have to continue to watch and see what happens when and if we have more deliveries of solar panels and the mounts, the Unirack mounts for putting them on the roof. As I get to the west main entrance, I'll bring the drone back down. A nice view of how that looks today, the flagpole and the base on the left-hand side of the screen, and a lot of activity, as I mentioned, with Model Ys coming out of the factory. Now, one of the differences that I noticed today is the mix of vehicles being produced, and also the fact that employees are driving the vehicles down the ramp and then it's taking over autonomously and driving all the way to the end of line facility. We're going to see that with the next several of the Model Ys coming out of the end of line ramp. And for whatever reason, I noticed this all day long. I came back and I filmed another kind of a 2.5 minute real-time segment, and all of the vehicles coming out did the same thing. So that may indicate that they are doing some of the maintenance or upgrades or some additional work inside that is affecting the ability to start the autonomous driving until it was out of the factory. So that is something new, and I think just for right now. The trench work here at the berm continues. The trench boxes are installed. You can see a pipe at the base here, and this is all tying into the existing factory and the lift station, and of course the work that was done along this berm over the last year. There is some activity at that loading platform, but not at the time that I flew by with the drone. So I'm going to continue up towards the north where the 4680 cell recycling happens. Again, not a lot of work at that point or that part of the factory here this morning. So I'm going to continue around the northwest corner of the factory, and I'm going to stay at a lower altitude here. Sorry for the banding with the sun coming through the propellers, so I'll move the drone around to minimize that. We'll take a look at what's going on at the north end, passing the plastics manufacturing section where they're recycling more of the bumpers for whatever reason. I'm not sure why. And here we can see that that Model Y body in white that was staged next to that one of the two platforms has been moved away. As I come around the northeast corner following these castings in the rack system, I noticed some interesting activity here, particularly with these castings on the ground. A few of them are Cybertrucks, but the rest of them are Cybercab. And I noticed a forklift picking them up and then taking them into the melt center. So it's possible all of these are those ones that we saw last week. They've been moved to the recycle center back here, and now they are getting ready to be melted back down. This is what the activity looks like. You'll note that they have the alloy wheels and some of the other scrap. There is a new patent out that talks about this process, and I will discuss that more in length at a future video. But suffice it to say is that Tesla is able to, with their patented process, use a variety of different stock inputs into the furnace to melt down, and then they make the proper alloys that are used then for the castings. And this is an example of some of that work. The two furnace loading systems look like they are complete as well. And as I kind of come back around, this gives you a different vantage point of the castings that are on the ground. Now that I've flown back up over the roof, I'm going to fly over the backhouse filtration plant and over to this section, just looking at the material that is next to that kind of teal item at the side of the wall. I wanted to see what was going on here. It looks to me like pretty much all of the castings, almost all for the Cybercab, have been removed, and now it's production line equipment that's being stockpiled here. So that continues that story we've seen all along the east side of Giga-Texas today. A lot more production line equipment arriving, and I think they're going to be taking advantage of the next couple of weeks with production downtime to be working on those production lines. So with that, let's fly up to the north over towards the Megapack and the expanded electrical switchyard section and see what is going on up here today. A great view across the site showing the earthwork in between the Cortex 2 on the right and the switchyard expansion here in the right top center. And as I continue to kind of maneuver around here, a good view of some of the materials, some of the gravel and dirt that is being stored just to the south of where all of these electrical conduits and the open manholes are, and they've been putting in the cable through the conduits through this section. You can see some of the spools on the bottom left. I also wanted to see what was going on with this connecting tunnel. You can see those yellow cable carriers along the walls. A lot of cabling has been put in here so far. a lot more to go, but they use those yellow holders to keep the cables kind of nicely managed throughout this entire section, as you can tell. Panning up, we can tell that there is more work being done, not only with the steel, but with a pump truck, another one of these foundations, this one just to the north of the second transformer foundation and catch basin. You can see that it's caught a little bit of water right now, so maybe they're fishing in there as well. But this gives you kind of a sense of scale with the workers of how large these slabs that they are pouring are. And as mentioned, both of these are just to the north of the transformers, and I'm expecting the second transformer to arrive fairly soon, especially since they are continuing to assemble all of the A-frames on the bay 2 of the 3 bays of the expansion. V-type circuit breaker has been installed, more of the frames onto the poured concrete slabs here. And this is all preparation for more of those V-type circuit breakers to be installed. Steel items being assembled here on the north end, and some more of the steel being stored on the north here, waiting for its turn to be installed, although as you can tell, a lot less of it now as that installation process continues. A great view across the expansion, the doubled in size electrical switchyard back to the main factory, the water detention pond, and all of the earthwork that is being done here on the west side. Of course, on the north end, we see a lot of activity, which we will come back to and see in a little bit more detail later in the video. But what I did want to do is proceed back to the east slightly, kind of following this road where you see some of the earthwork equipment, and stop here next to the lift station, which is in the bottom right of the screen. And as I turn around, it's in the center of the screen. You can see the excavation work that is underway here. And I think that they are connecting in some of the systems to that lift station, but it's hard to say for sure. As I mentioned, I'd come back to the north end. This is the first of 2 views in this video today. You can see those pipe segments and also that yard truck with more pipe segments on the ground. These are coming from that east side workshop section we talked about. Looks like there's some picnic tables that have been set out next to the wall on the right of the screen, and more of the equipment or materials have been delivered. Some trenching continues, and we can see that throughout this entire area. Plus, they're making a new mounded section on the right-hand side of the screen. So I expect more construction there in the next week or 2. Deliveries at the bottom of the screen next to this temporary workshop, which has had the plastic ripped off with the latest storms that we had through the area. Turning back, wanted to come over and see what's going on with this part of the cooling or the chiller system. And we'll start with the electrical boxes on the platform here next to the wall. See the scaffolding being put up. This sort of mimics what we see on the west side of the facility, although in smaller in scale. Here's a great look at the walls, the dirt, the expanded floor, and the manifold section here that they are working on. You can get a sense of how this is going to work together. A large pipe runs right at the base of the wall, and it will connect into at least 4 of these very large pipes that extend into this raised section of the chiller plant, and then down, at least it looks like right now. And you can see that within the concrete, some of the circular holes in the wall for more pipes. And as I keep the zoom in, you can get a good sense of that pipe that is on the ground. Actually, take that back. That pipe looks like it's concrete pipes for drainage. So the pipes in the manifold are going to be a little bit different, connected a little bit higher than that. So my mistake. Here's a better shot here of the work on the south wall in that chiller plant and how it is all coming together. At the bottom of the screen, we see rebar and more of the forms. And we'll see if that is used at the north end of the building and maybe in that middle section on the east side that I expect. But we'll monitor that as time goes on. Trench work, pipe installation, and material deliveries here on the south end of Cortex 2. And of course, that west wall section that we talked about with all of the transformers, electrical equipment, much larger than what we saw on the east side. But on the ground, you can see more screw-type piers are being installed. And at the north end, they are doing trenching, conduit, and spools of cabling. In addition to that, they have the crane to be able to lift more of those transformers and electrical equipment onto those platforms. Again, a little bit of banding from the sun through the propellers. Sorry about that, but this gives you a good idea of what the work is being done here as they fill in that wall as well with that blue panel. And then, of course, they'll put that texturized coating, and eventually it will be white stained. I'm going to fly up to the north along this section with the workshops. Just kind of briefly fly over it, kind of get an idea of what this site looks like here, some of the materials and the trailers that the workers use. Past the Keystone trailer, which is the company that's responsible for much of the concrete and rebar. And on the north end, I wanted to come back and just give a closer view of the pipe segments that are being delivered here. All these are being moved in sort of the east side of the Cortex 2 building, the entire length of the building. And inside there is where all of those pipes and the cooling system is being installed. So you pass over some of these materials stored next to the cathode building. I wanted to show you what the cathode cooler plant looks like. Again, the plastic wrap is to protect it from freezing temperatures over the winter and make sure that the equipment that they use, the sensor and measuring equipment, does not freeze or get damaged. As we fly to the south along the south part of the cathode building, I wanted to show you what is going on the east side, especially at the crash test facility. And the continued changes are with the north and south face, where they're adding in these beams structures, vent. And on the north, we're going to see that they're starting to put in the decking on the inside, or the side. So it's basically filling in both the north and the south sides. Now, what I understand is that this is not only for climate control for the workers, but it's also dust mitigation. It's been very dusty here because of the construction site. That affects some of the testing that they do. Cybercabs that have been crash tested or other testing here at the bottom of the screen and the middle of the screen with some of the covers, and you can also clearly see some of those old Cybercabs. And we'll see how the crash testing proceeds in the 2026 as we get closer and closer to production start. Here's that kind of the facing material that they've added onto the north of the facility, and I suspect we'll see some sort of doors added in to open and keep closed that facility. But a great view along from the north to the south along the crash testing site, and of course the wade pit at the bottom of the screen as well. One other thing I'll do here is kind of maneuver the drone around, looking back to the factory and the cathode plant and showing you the green transformers that are waiting their opportunity to be installed next to Cortex 2. And the last thing I wanted to do while I was here is just take a quick look at what's going on at the far north, where we've seen a lot of that earthwork and clearing going on. So let's fly around here and kind of get an update of what is going on before we end the video. Some work at this recycle center. They've broken up a lot of those kind of racking systems at the bottom of the screen and more of the materials. There's those green bins waiting for more of the trash. This is the rental equipment lot and maintenance facility. This is a great view of what it looks like today with brilliant sun coming up from the early morning. Now, the field that you see here with the hills and valleys, the trees, some of the new earthwork, all of this is the remainder of one of the sand and gravel mine areas of this location. And it looks like they are doing some preliminary work to maybe reclaim this location at some point. In addition to that, that cleanup that is going on in this large rectangular field continues. We still see some more concrete segments that need to be broken up. You can see that work underway in the middle of the screen. Along the kind of diagonally in the middle of the screen, you see where it used to be with that darker kind of path that extends from the north to the south. And then in this section is what is remaining of the concrete that was all throughout this area. In the upper left, you can tell where all of that has been removed. We saw that in my previous video. So all that remains is these smaller sections. Now this concrete is being broken up and then transported just to the northeast of the cathode building. And I think that's because they are preparing this site for some sort of construction. On this area is where we saw all of the debris from the old trees being mulched up and removed. Most of that has now been completed. And as we fly over this truck to the south again, we'll see where some more of that mulching work is underway. And they're going to continue this until they get us all cleared up, and then we'll see what they're going to do with the construction. But a great view of the mulching operation underway right now. Also a good view of just how much work has been done over the last few weeks to prepare that site. So that will be it for today. I'll bring the drone up to a higher altitude, give you a nice view across the entire site. I hope that what you saw was helpful and put into context what's going on. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great weekend.